Welcome, everybody, to tonight's live. It seems though these past few, I think 6 months now, steadily increase of people finding paranormal activity in buying properties and going places, finding that they've been places and they've come back and they've got kind of attachments and things. It's becoming more evident that there is portals. If it doesn't matter if you believe it or not, but it's definitely evident that portals are actually bringing forward a lot more negativity. And also because the world is changing at a rapid rate where truth is no longer and everything is just so compartmentalized, questions are all what one answer questions now. Nobody's willing to look at all aspects of a question anymore. And that's AI technology, deliberate, by the way. And AI technology is definitely a feeder for evil, for sure. It's definitely a feeder for dark energy. And it really, truly has a devastating effect on children as well as adults that are becoming more and more dumbed down, senile, losing the plot, having no focus whatsoever. It's all part of the rollout. It's all part of the plan. Create chaos and you can control. So it's good to know. I believe it's good to talk about these things, especially if you're new to my channel and you've been struggling with many aspects of your life and you can't explain why things are happening. The most evident one is where things are moved in the house. You know, there's so many things that can happen in your house if you've got paranormal activity, poltergeist. And tonight we're going to talk about, yeah, should have switched the phone off. So tonight we're going to talk about the many and fascinating, let's say, energies, entities, and how we break them down and how we can have some kind of, I don't know, wisdom, knowledge that we can give to other people. And if you are experiencing something negative within yourself, I'll talk about the experiences that not only have I personally had, but a lot of my clients who came to me with attachments and negative energy. One thing I'd like to dispel is the word demon, demonic. It's used, but I don't know. I just have an issue with that word. It's really something that we need to get rid of. It's kind of Hollywood. Demonic is kind of Hollywood. If we can break it down and you see, when you fear something, it becomes really big, right? If you don't know something and you're frightened of it, you know, it's the worst case scenario. But if you can break it down and explain what it is and what it could be, it's fascinating. It really is. So I just want to put a side note out there, first of all. Just if you've got a pen and paper, write these little notes down. Okay, I used to do a lot of work outside, and a lot of the times when you're outside and you're working on land, and there's a problem here or a problem there, I tell you what I noticed. I noticed that the disturbance of the land, or let's say below the land, was, I wouldn't say it was a ley line. I would say it's the opposite of a ley line. So let's say if there were ley lines, let's say, like in anything, there's good and bad, right? There's light and dark. So I believe that there's some good ley lines, more good, but there's also bad ley lines. So bad meaning a different energy that we vibrate at. So take, for instance, a lot of the ley lines are set right where the ley lines cross, meet. A lot of them are actually built on places that they believed should have been sacred, i.e. a church, a cathedral, synagogue, and places where people, you know, wanted to create something like Stonehenge. I haven't been there, but I imagine any kind of sacred place, the I don't know. There's so many places, right? In Egypt, I can't just say it's, you know, these three pyramids. I would say that ultimately, it's like having dowsing sticks and looking for water. It's the same thing. I think we've lost the knowledge and the capability of attuning to sacred sites in the sense of high energy. So I was in at the bottom of the mountain of a place called Urten in Serbia. And when we got to the bottom of the mountain, there was a place where you could jump into it and you could feel this energy, and it was incredible. And that energy was like kind of made you feel a little bit, feel a bit weird, right? So, but it was good energy. Now you can get bad energy, and if that energy is, I don't know if it's breathing, if it's really, because I don't think the energy is there all the time, but I think depending on how the earth works, that energy becomes stronger at certain points. I think everything breathes in and out, everything. That's why people talk about climate change. No, it's just the earth breathing in and out. So it breathes in, breathes out. So if it breathes in, it might get cool. It breathes out, it might get hot. What I'm saying is that everything has a kind of a moment, and then it goes again, and a moment and it goes again. So we can't predict when their moments are if it's Mother Earth, because like a volcano, it needs to breathe out sometimes and then it stops. So what I'm trying to say is that when I was doing work outside, like everything was going wrong. One particular person that I went to, he couldn't build because everybody was feeling nauseous and sick, and bad things were happening. So I went on the land, and the land was, to you and me, it feels, I don't want to be here. This is awful. There's something here. And that is the first feeling you get. And that is because your consciousness and your body can see things that you can't see with your eyes. You can feel things that you don't even know what it is, because, you know, your vision is so weak that animals see things that you don't see, and so on. So we can attune consciously to something, and we feel something's wrong. So I'll give you a great example. So I went to this place, and everything was going wrong. So I walked onto this land, and I could surely feel something was like a negative ley line. And I stood right on the point where I thought, this is the strongest point. And at that point, I started to speak, and I could feel the presence of a spirit. This happened on minimum 10 occasions. So there is something about that energy and, let's say, attachment, poltergeist, paranormal activity, because it vibrates at the same frequency. It's a low, dull, and a negative energy. Okay, so I personally, I struggle to feel, let's say, poltergeist, ghosts in a high vibration place. So if it's like in a let's say a low vibration, to me is a cemetery, it's a really low vibration. So it's like you feel things. You go into a hospital, it's low vibration. You can feel things. If you're anywhere near like bad places where bad people are, it's low vibration. So it depends where you are, low vibration. Now, it gets a little bit complicated, and I've learned over the years not to like say this set in stone, because you see, when something negative is being done on a positive place, they use that energy and turn it. It's almost like they're laughing in the face of good energy. So they'll pretend. So they'll have a church, and they'll use that energy but turn it to like dark energy. So like I said, as soon as I started speaking, I said to you that the world has changed so much in these past 10 years that a single conversation I have with you by this particular walking into a church, and then there's demonic energy that is being used and utilized of, let's say, down in the basement, which often happens in churches. That is where they do their real evil work, and then on the surface they lie to you. And this is a common thing, this isn't a joke. So you might say, but you just said this, and I said yes, because there's so many answers to a question, and there's so many reasons why. You see, so if you're here to get one reason, you've come to the wrong place, because there's multiple reasons for multiple things happening at any given time. That is true genius, knowing and looking for lots of answers and being open to anything. Whereas if you're a stubborn and you're brainwashed to the way the system wants you to be, you're either good or you're bad, or it's either this is the right answer and that's the wrong answer. That is purposely there to brainwash you not to think beyond right or wrong. So there's so many shades of grey, especially in this area. So all I'm sharing with you is things that, I thought it was that, but then this just happened. So wow, and then that happened, and then wow. So where are you? Well, they're all absolute 100% experiences, but they're different. They're all different, and there's so many things you can do in each case. So on the land, first of all, it's very hard to change a ley line, and I haven't been able to do it. So I blessed the land. The ley line still stayed the same, and it was negative. There was nothing I could change. However, there was something that was attached to that ley line, which was a dark and very dense, heavy energy. So the first thing I did was try to communicate to see what it was. So the thing is, sometimes you've got to sit and, like you would meditate, like you would try and astral travel, like you would try and psychically attune to something, you have to do the same thing, because you are now with some kind of entity that is beyond our world, but it's still a thin veil, and we don't know who they are, what their intention is or purpose, and what they're going through. So it could be something as easy as spirit trapped in between two worlds. If there's anything that is, for me, easy to clear, it's spirit trapped in between two worlds. Now, then there's levels of clearing spirit trapped in between two worlds. And that is, if you can communicate to that spirit, right, then you've got a great chance. If the spirit doesn't want to communicate and is angry and stubborn, it's challenging. If the entity, if the spirit trapped in between two worlds, let's say, has had a shock energy, you have to try and feel what happened to them to try and help them out of it. If they were a killer, a murderer, and they did bad things, then it becomes even more difficult. But that difficult is not as difficult as entity attachment and this really heavy demonic, what we would call demonic energy. It's poltergeist. It's really bad stuff, really heavy stuff. So these are some of the things. I personally try to help spirit back into the light. That's the first thing I like to do. So no matter who it is, what they're doing, no matter what my feeling is, what I'm going through, I'll sit through it. So I try and sit down. I stand up, but normally I feel, maybe if it's a nasty, heavy energy, it will try and make me feel nauseous. So I'll start coming queasy, and normally I end up sitting down. So I normally sat down to do this work, especially if it's out in the open. And as I sit down, there'll be lots of feelings coming. And if I'm starting to feel sick, if I'm starting to get a massive headache, if I start to feel like my body's burning, then I know I'm up against something that does not want me there. Okay? So because they're trying to cause me harm or damage. So at that point, I will instantly do something or use something or hold something as a crystal. So I'll give you a great example. This is something that I normally take around when I was doing that kind of work, because like spirit trapped or entity can hear. Okay, so they don't like noise. They don't like that. They want to be in their own space. That's why you'll see a lot of shamans using this. That is to shake them. And when you shake them, you've got their attention. The other one is this. They don't like high frequency at all. The other one is this. Spray blessed water. They don't like blessed water. I don't know why, but they don't like rosary beads. So I wear rosary beads. They do not like Palo Santo sticks. They hate, they can't stand, and this is what they fear most of all, sage. So these are kind of like some of my tools. The music also that I use is Gregorian chant. So I would normally have my music playing the Gregorian chant as soon as I'm there. So the crystals that I would wear, depending what entity it is, let's say I don't want this energy to attack me, I'd probably go for more sit-sit. If I want to connect with the spirit and try and help them because the spirit isn't causing that much issue to me, I'd probably wear a Moldavite or a Moldavite trio or something like that. If I'm going into a house and I'm wanting to help clear the house and it's nothing too heavy, but I just want the energy right in the house, I'd be looking at something like, I don't know, I'd probably get a nice big piece of, there's so many things that I would use. Wild horse turquoise, which is a whitey crystal. That's really, really good. It's got a great energy. There's ruby fuscite. That's fantastic. That's like a bluey with red in it. That's really, really good. And a really nice one, which is like a pinky coloured one and a really good energy, is smithsonite. So that's probably what I'd use in the house and put maybe a nice big piece here and there. So yeah, that's probably what I'd use with crystals. So the point I'm trying to make is that if I'm outside and there is a negative energy, which is Mother Earth, there's not much I was able to do. It's just part of the land. So there's been many occasions that people will say to me, I bought a piece of land. It might have been in Turkey. It might have been in wherever, Ireland. It could have been anywhere. It could have been in Africa. Could you just attune to this energy? And I take some cards and feel and say, okay, the land isn't fit for purpose. It isn't fit to do anything on. It just needs to be left alone. And some people took my advice. Some people built on that land, and then it was devastating and everything went wrong. So sometimes it's best leaving the land if you've got that kind of energy. If it is simply a case of an entity on the land, then I think it's easier to get rid of the entity. However, we're coming to a point now where there is more entity communication everywhere, not just in houses, pubs, clubs, churches here and there. There's everywhere, catacombs. There's all sorts happening now on many levels. But just as on a side note, I find it harder to clear, let's say, spirit on a piece of land than in a house. It's weird. And a few people say, why is it that, that they're always in a house? And it's like, I don't know, but I do feel them sometimes when I'm out. So sometimes if I'm in the mountain, I'll feel them. I write about it in my book. there's been, I think, a lot of over the thousands of years, a lot of killings, murderings everywhere of one thing or another. Whether it's up here, and it could have been the Christians against the Muslims and so on. And so sometimes when you come across this, you can just sit very peacefully, and you know that there's a trapped spirit, and you just feel that you just want to communicate and help them move into the light. So it is a cliche of talking about moving into the light, but it's the only way to explain to certain people who have never done it before. And sometimes you can visualize color, you can visualize a light, but my secret really was to call in their family. My secret, my most powerful secret, is to call in their family. So I work on calling the family. As soon as I've got a connection to the family, I start to feel things about the spirit trapped in between two worlds. Then I have their attention, because otherwise, why do they even want to speak to me? I'm just in their way. What are you doing here? Get out of my way. This is my place. So if you can communicate, that's why a lot of I guess real let's say exorcists do it by needing to know the name of whoever is inside them, because then, who are you? I'm so and so. Okay, so now I know who you are. It's more of a connection. You now know who they are. I don't think it's to do with, now that I know who you are, I have the power to get rid of you. I think it's more about, hey, excuse me, mate. Hello? Excuse me, you're not listening to me. Excuse me, mate. Oh, now I've got your attention. Now I can get rid of you. Now you're listening to me. So that's how I see it, because I never got that, okay, who are you? I'm a demon so-and-so from the underworld. Like, I never got that, guys. If I did, I'd tell you. So, I don't read the Bible. So I think, there's a lot when you're dealing with stuff like Ouija board. If you know anything about that, it's all trickery. It's all entity trickery, and that's again a different energy completely. And then we can talk about other that side of things in a bit. So when I worked on most of my clients, it was predominantly in the house, or it might have been an outbuilding, or it might have been in the cellar, or it might have been in the attic. But it was in the house, and I would try to connect to that spirit and try and help it move home. So I'd call for their family, and I'd sit, and it's kind of a prayer. It's kind of a prayer, but I know that spirit is here, and they're around. A thought can bring spirit forward. So it's easy for me. It's just like close my eyes. I call forward just by intention the spirit of the family of the spirit that is within these walls, or in this land, or wherever I am. And at times I was called to go, and I actually could do it by the motorway, and I'd normally do it very late, so there was only a few cars passing by, and I'd just basically sit by the flowers, because here in Spain, a few years ago, there was a lot of accidents down on the major N340, but not so much now. And now there's lots of flowers where a child dies, or somebody dies in a motorbike accident. So the family would call me and say, "Is my child in the spirit world?" And I'd say, "I'll go down where they were, and I'll try and attune." And there were times where, if it's a shock energy, for some reason they stay, they don't want to go. There's no real reason that they stay or go, and you're trying to find reason. So, if it's like, it's really a difficult. This is why I don't teach it, because it's so difficult, and there's so many scenarios. But the scenarios that I share with you is what I've learned. So there was one girl down there, long dark hair. I can't remember her name. She died in a head-on crash against a barrier. So it was smash, and she was dead instantly. She didn't know she was dead. She thought she was waiting for either a mum or somebody to come. And I was trying to explain that she was in an accident, and I was showing her the accident, and I was showing her that a family is ready for you. So she then opened up. She became open, and it was easy. And I called her family in spirit to come and get her. So it was like I got her attention. I said, "Oh, your mum ain't coming, but your family's coming. Your other family's coming." So who came was, I think, a granddad, and then they went together. The energies came together, and then they disappeared. They went. They didn't go into a white light per se. It's like you vibrate into the spirit world. This world, I'm vibrating in this world. But when I die, my consciousness vibrates into, hopefully, the spirit world if I'm not in fear. And I've said to you before, the biggest culprit of spirit trapped is the church, because the church is basically, in my opinion, everything is the wrong way around. They hijacked it. But there is some truth in the church that is still there. So what they did to cause this spirit trapped in between two worlds, and the reason why is because darkness, whether you want to call it Satan, whether you Satan, if you want to call it dark work, if you're trapped in between two worlds, you vibrate at a low frequency, and that low frequency is what darkness wants, because it feeds from it. If you're in the spirit world, you feed darkness, and that is the truth. So you don't feed it, but it feels better in that energy. So yeah, where was I? You vibrate back home, and did I accomplish that? Well, not always. I struggled a lot of the times, and that's why I got angry when I met Derek Akor down here, when he asked to work with me in Gibraltar to start the new ghost hunting show. And I asked him, and his wife will confirm this. I said, in all the time that you did your show, why didn't you ever send spirit back home? Why was that never mentioned or on the show? And nothing was said. So I was kind of like, and I kind of understand it to a degree, but I don't, because ultimately, this is how I see it. If you are stuck on an island and there's nobody there, and there's no food there, and there's no water, and I'm passing by, if I just say, "Oh, look, she's there on the island. There's no water. There's no food. See you later. I might come back again with the cameras," right? And I'm like, so it never made sense. But then when I think about it, if it is about TV, then why would they want to clear the spirit world away? Then they don't have a TV show. But then you can go to tons of houses and castles and pubs. Why wouldn't you want to help that spirit move into the light? Do you understand? I could be wrong. He never said anything. He might have done, but he never said. But I don't know. But so I have an issue with TV psychics. I have an issue with these people who are on TV saying, "Oh, what was that noise? What was this noise?" It's like, oh, piss off. Just go away. Just stop it. Because it's real. It really is something. It really is. And I don't need to prove there's ghosts. I know there's entities because I feel them. I work with people who are attached with them. They're attached to me. And I went through all sorts of stuff. So, I don't need a TV camera here or following me. It's just garbage. And it's serious. So I won't leave you on an island. I'd say, there's no water there. There's nothing there. If you come with me, if you just go up them stairs there, if you just go along there, you'll see that your grandma's there waiting for you. Just go there now. Okay, she's gone. Okay, good. She's not on the island anymore. That's how it feels to me when I was doing the work. And so it wasn't like complicated. I couldn't stand it when people say, "Oh, he's brilliant." No, I'm not brilliant. It's hard work. I'm trying to do it to help that person move back home. It's really that simple. So that so sometimes it becomes really confusing to people when they move into a house, right? And there's different forms of fear. I have met people who insist that I go to their house and I'll go, oh yeah, I can feel a girl here. I can feel a guy. I can feel a granddad here. And they'll go, yeah, he's lovely, innit? I said, yeah, he's nice. He's funny, innit? Yeah, he does silly things. And they will not allow me to get rid of them. And I'll get rid of him. And for me, it's like, how would you like it, right? Because I get angry then. How would you like it? How would you like it if you were him and you did not know, right, that you're not in this world and that you should be home, and that being in this in between world, purgatory, whatever you want to call it, trapped in between two worlds, there is no purpose. I know this is a fact. There is no purpose. There is no why am I here? What is my why am I? None of those things exist. It is a matter of space and time that doesn't exist. So you don't actually feel space and time, which is a good thing because you can be there hundreds, if not thousands of years. And there is no space and time, only this bodysuit. However, wouldn't it be nice to help them to go home? Right? I think you've been here long enough. No, I want him to stay. I want the girl to stay here. I like her. So I say, well, that's a bit selfish. And then I walk out. Or they'll say, oh, yeah, you're right. Maybe we should let them go home. And I'll say, yeah, you should let them go home. I said, have you got a cat? Yeah. Have you ever put it in a cage? Can I have it and keep it in my house, but in a cage? That's what I used to say. This is how I used to get a bit angry, right? I want your cat and I want to keep it in a cage for the rest of its life. Why would you do that? Well, exactly. Why would you want to leave this trapped spirit here? Just because you like it. So you can see how I get a little bit, I don't know, fueled. I get a bit fueled because I understand how it works. This isn't, to me, a joke. This isn't a TV show. This isn't all the bullshit that these, people go on podcasts and start talking about. It's all bollocks to me. Like, do the work. If you know nothing, you don't even do the work. You've never done it. You're just talking clickbait crap. When I talk to you guys, I talk to you about honest, genuine stuff that isn't clickbait. It's a conversation that I'm having with you with real truth of a guy who had no idea what he was doing till he started learning and speaking to spirit and practicing every day to communicate with spirit. If you ask my partner now, she'll tell you, I don't want to be involved in it anymore. And stop it. Leave me alone because I've done my bit. I've done it. I'm tired. I want a break. Somebody else, find somebody else now to communicate because I'm tired. And they'll take me places. The spirit will take me places to like exhausting places. I write about it in my book. And the last place I was taken to, I didn't want to go, and I had to try and heal a so-called guru who was about to do a terrible ritual on a woman that he was going out with because he has demonic thoughts every year. And I had to touch him and burn that out of him so she wouldn't get hurt. And I just looked up and I said, I don't want this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. So it sounds a little bit far-fetched, and I understand if you think I'm full of B. I completely get it because I wouldn't believe it. So, but I know my truth, and that's why I don't do the work anymore. I did it for 12 solid years, probably more than most psychics, and I didn't meet and I didn't know very many people who actually did the work and actually proved by saying, you know what, I've been into 100 houses, and you can go into any of those houses and ask them if they have any more issues in that house. Right? I had proof back then. I could send people to places. So what I would do is I would tell people, please ring this number, this number, this number. And I used to say, like, they would say, how much do I owe you? I'll say, I do this from my heart to yours. But if somebody ever rings and asks, could you tell me if there was ever a guy called Mark Bajerski ever came here? Did he do anything? Would you just please tell them what happened? Right. The reason why is not for ego, but so that they can think, okay, this is the guy's. Is the real deal. And I'll tell you this now. I've been into plenty of houses that I've walked in and out of, and I've travelled 5 hours. I've travelled across the water and been into properties, big places, and said, there's nothing in here. It's fine. There's nothing in here. How much do I owe you? You don't owe me nothing. I haven't done any work. So then people realize I'm the real deal. I'm not out. I was never out for money. I was never out for credibility, or anything like that, or, showing off. I just wanted to do the job. I wanted to do it because there's a soul satisfying feeling when you help spirit back into the light. So I know I'm going off on one a little bit, but it's, if I was to do a 3-month course on how to help spirit back into the light, this would be the first hour conversation I'd be having with you out of 3 months, because there's so much involved in each situation. So when you walk into a property and that property doesn't feel bad, but things move, right? That could very easily be spirit that became trapped, but not for anything heavy. Okay, so it could have been, I did something to so-and-so. I feel really bad about it. I dare walk through that door of the spirit world because I might be going to hell and burn forever. So there is no hell. You don't burn forever, even though I know you wish that Gates from Hell would. It doesn't kind of work like that. I've come to understand that Gates from Hell's consciousness is nothing like yours. So where he goes back is his consciousness. Where you go back is your consciousness. And they feed from evil. They feed from dark. They feed from that energy. There's nothing you can do about that. That there will always be that energy. And they will go back to that energy. You will go back to your energy. Again, controversial. People mock me, laugh at me. People don't even want to even hear me anymore because they've been brainwashed into this idea that the last psychic told me this. Where did that psychic got it from? From a book, from somebody else. But did they actually really attune to it and think about it? And did they actually do the work and come to understand there's different energies within people, and that not like you and me? Bill Gates is not like you and me. Don't tell me he's like you. He's nothing like you. Nothing like you. You would never do anything like that. So you struggle to actually believe that he could do that because, well, he's a human being. No, he just came into a human body, but he comes from a different place, which is dark, and they feed from darkness. They feed from bad things. They do bad things. They have children. They'll treat the children in the way they treat them, and they'll be like to anybody else, look normal, but what they try to accomplish in this world is the opposite of what you try and accomplish. So they will try and accomplish disaster. They will cause pain and suffering, and they'll see as their God or their goal or their aim as if they're doing something good, and they won't know any different. You will help somebody up off the floor, do good, create love and feel pain and suffering from people hurting, and you will do your best to help, because you come from that particular source of what I call the ocean of our spirit world. So you walk into a property and you feel this not bad energy, nothing feels negative, but things get moved. So I smile and say, okay, there's spirit trapped here, but it's good that we can at least try and help them back home. So I've helped a lot of spirit back home. Same with animals. You might think, oh, an animal is a different soul, spirit. Where we come from, which is an ocean, our ocean, we can come back as anything that we want. We can come back as a tree, we can come back as a flower, we can come back as an ant, we can come back as anything that we want, right? Because every single body we can go into, and then the energy is alive then, and it's created. So we are part of that body, whatever body it is, or whatever tree it is, so whatever plant it is. Okay, so I know it's like it might be too much, but anyway. So there are times that you could feel, oh, there's a cat in this house, and they'll go, oh my God, it is. It's a cat. Right. So something happened to the cat. It died. And like the cat with the spirit, like your spirit, it didn't go. And I can't explain why, but it didn't go. So I have to try and help it into the light. How do you help a cat or a dog or an animal into the light? Again, this is something so deep and very challenging. And the one thing that I found worked best was it was hard for me to connect, to find out what the cat was going through. Sometimes I would feel it if the cat was alive, was easier for me to connect with if it was alive than sometimes if it were trapped in between two worlds. I don't know why. Hopefully one day somebody who does my work might say the same thing and I'll go, thank God I wasn't crazy and I wasn't shit at my job. But I used to cleanse the house with sage and then the animal would go. And I believe wholeheartedly that when it's a spirit from where we come from, when we cleanse it with sage, it goes home. It's like it goes home. There's nowhere else for it to go. It doesn't go out of the window and go off somewhere else. It goes home. Something happens where it vibrates home. And there are a few circumstances that I can prove that with, but I'll have to go into great detail and it gets a little bit boring. So if I stick to the fact that if I go into an house and I feel a cat and it's alive, I can feel what it's saying to me sometimes. Not always, but I can feel what it's saying. And I actually wrote that in a book too. And I've had lots of stories about that where you can connect to the animal and you can speak to it. And they have the power, just like you and I, to cause something from not moving forward. So the woman's house didn't sell. I went into the house and said, have you got a cat? Yes. Was it born here? Well, it came with the house. It was born outside. Yeah. What are you going to do with a cat? I'm taking it with me. I said, that's why your house isn't selling. So what the cat is asking is if you allow the cat to stay here with the next owner, then the house will sell. And the house sold in 3 months and it hadn't sold for years. So again, crazy. I'm going. You're talking out your ass, Mark Bajerski. Okay, see you later. No, I can do to convince you, and I'm not here to convince you, but I'm just telling you, strange things do happen, really. So I walk into an house. First of all, I look at the people in the eyes, and I can see the traumatized, the fearful. Now I know that this isn't particularly going to be an easy cleanse, and it could be spirit trapped in between two worlds that did terrible things. It could have abused people, it could have killed people, it could have been the most nastiest spirit which was in this world, right? Does it come from my world? I think sometimes we do some terrible things, right, which it's part of the journey. I don't have the answers why, other than all I can tell you is this: my first teacher did some terrible things to me and my family. And when she died, I went into a meditation, I went into a sleep, and she was my best friend in the spirit world. What I came to understand was that if we are here to experience bad things, wouldn't it be better that we ask somebody from our spirit world, our best friend in the spirit world, to do something to us that when we got back there, we think, oh, thank God for that, and now I understand it. Again, you're probably gone because this is too much. How can somebody rape my daughter and be a friend? Well, it's an experience, and it's an awful experience, but they've been through the experience. Have they got over the experience? Have they conquered that experience? Have they become a stronger person? Have they helped other people in this world through the bad experience that they've been through? Yes, when you go to the spirit world and you meet that person, you realize that it's your best friend and everything's fine. That's kind of how I see it. Now, there is entity in this world which is awful, which is in the like the Bill Gates and those who are, many of them in politics, many of them do things and cause great, who are not from my spirit world. So again, The same question asked, so many different scenarios. So it may sound very complicated, but it is. It is complicated. However, it is simple at the same time. So you go into an house, and let's say it's somebody from my home world. They've done terrible things. They don't want to go home. They're angry. They're bad energy. I try and communicate to start with, and try and get their attention, and then try and talk to them. There is a point within me that says yes or no. Yes means keep trying. No means no more, and get the sage out and sage this place. And then it's done. That's how I used to do it. Trying to communicate with somebody who's in a bad place and they've done something awful. If you can try and communicate to them and say, you know, I can feel that you've done bad things and you're angry and you're upset with life, and you close your eyes and try and understand why, and then you realize that could have been that they were abused by their father, or they were abused by their uncle and they were raped, or something bad happened to them, that in the war they were put into a prison, or something that they went crazy, or there's so many scenarios. So it's taking the time and trying to attune to what this person is willing to share with you, if they are willing to share. If they're not willing to share, then there comes a point where you say, I can't help this one. All I can do is sage the place. I have never saged a place apart from the first few times that I saged a place, and then the client called me back and say it's still here. And that's when I realized that I'm doing something wrong. All the books told me just use a stick, and it didn't work. So I actually got loads of sticks, and I realized it was the smoke that they don't like. So I basically got a big bowl and burnt it, and that's how it started. I don't know anybody else who's done it the way I've done it, but I had a really good success rate, really good. And, you know, I can say that hand on my heart. It was a good success rate. I've told you, and I'm honest with you, that I don't know what happens when you sage the place. I don't know where they go, but I've never gone to another house or the next door neighbor. That's never happened. Or oh, it's the same spirit. It's just moved. I've never got that. So I like to think that they've gone home. Do I think there's trapped somewhere else? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that this is the time that they're going to go, and that's why I've been called. So the spirit world called me for a reason. So I trust that reason. So I'm just going to do my best. And what I know must be what I've been asked to come for. And that really is trust. So it's not a delusion, it's trust. I believe it. Before I was worried and thinking, am I good enough? And then when I got rid of that nonsense via the way the world teaches us, and you trust in your work, and you trust in your ability, and you trust in spirit guidance, then you become far stronger in your work. So have I been into properties where bad stuff's happened? Yeah, loads. So you now have, you can go on to another level of entity. An entity is a different energy. So I don't communicate with entity, right? I don't communicate with them when I know it's, let's say, poltergeist, in the sense of it's dark, it's demonic, whatever you want to call it. I just call it heavy energy. It's easier and it's not dramatic. So I have so many stories, but my favorite one is, and I always like this story, and I always stick to the stories that I love because of the great shift of what happened and the amount of things that happened. So I was called to go to Belgium. So I went to Belgium. Please, would you clear this energy in this place? So it was an old Victorian building, very old, very beautiful. And it was a restaurant. So my job was to clear the restaurant, okay? I couldn't get upstairs, so I couldn't do anything about upstairs. And I said to them, if you want me to do the job properly, I need to do it. And they said, well, we can't because it belongs to, there's 3 apartments above. Well, I can't guarantee anything, but I'll do my best. So I asked them all to leave. The place shut down. and I put my music on, which was my Gregorian chants, and I could feel something, and it wasn't spirit trapped in the sense of it's going to be easy. This felt, let's say, heavy, and you could actually say demonic, right? Because it felt that way. And I realized I was in for a difficult night. But when it's like really heavy and it could be demonic or an entity or whatever it is, I like I like to try and help spirit back into the light. But if it feels really bad, and I think, you know, like you've got a family member that you just, what's the point talking to them because they're not going to listen, and when you do, you're just exhausted at the end of it, and they've either mocked and ridiculed, or they've not taken in anything, and you've just wasted your energy. This is how it feels to me when I'm dealing with something like that. I just sage the place. So I started the sage, and I saged the whole of the place. I could feel this entity as I'm walking through a tight hallway to the outside area, and the restaurant had just finished. So I imagine I'd used about 4 bags, and it was thick with smoke. So as I'm walking into this area, which was tight hallway, as I'm walking, this entity did something with energy. And all I could see was my focus was that it was like I was walking but not moving, or I was moving, but it was like, it was the strangest feeling as I was walking. So the entity had done something to the energy and done something to me, and it was weird. And I felt like vertigo, like this was like a Doctor Who, weird. And then I started feeling nauseous and sick. And then I started feeling an awful feeling in my body, like I was being attacked. So I'm blowing and blowing and blowing. As I'm blowing, it's going. I'm blowing, it's going, it's going. So whatever the residue of this energy was, I was walking into it. So it's like it kind of farted, and I could smell it, and it had just gone off. But that smell is starting to really affect me physically. So I'm following this spirit. It can't go there because it's all saged, and it's going there. So it's only got a small amount of space left there. As I'm walking and blowing nice and steady, so it can't go back there. I've done all of it. As I'm getting closer and closer, I finished it all, and I could feel it in the corner. But I wasn't communicating. I wasn't interested. I'm just going to sage the place. So I finished the corner, and it had gone. So all the place, all one level was cleared, but something didn't feel right. So I just kind of left it and went out, came back after an hour, and then something still didn't feel right. So I made a phone call, and I said, have you got a downstairs? They said, yeah, we've got a cellar. I went, oh shit, it's in the cellar. So he told me where the cellar was. I pulled the flip door on the floor. I went down the cellar, and it's catacombs, because this is an old building. That's where I felt evil. So I started doing half of the catacomb, blowing the sage, another bag. And I gets to a point where in front of me was, I hadn't done in front of me. It was very low down. So I was like that. And then I sat down on this beer barrel, and for some reason I stopped with the sage, and I closed my eyes because I could feel something really about to happen. It was like something was going to explode. And I closed my eyes, and I could feel that I needed to, just be in the present, because maybe something's happening and I'm guided to be here to say something and do something. And as soon as I closed my eyes, I could see that this entity had now manifested in my third eye as a bishop. The clothing that this man had on and the anger and the evilness started coming towards me. So I start praying. I've got like things in my hand. I've got a crystal on and I'm praying. And as he's coming towards me, I'm praying and I'm starting to feel a little bit of my heart going, oh, and I'm praying. And just at that moment, I have a beautiful, warm feeling in my back. And I could see, even though I couldn't see, my eyes are shut. I turned around, even though I'm facing this way, at this bishop coming towards me, or priest, and I feel a row of nuns, but the old-fashioned ones with the Sound of Music, and my mum's in front, and they woof through me. They go to this entity, a light appears, and it all disappears. Everything disappears. And the sense of relief and peace after that moment was hard to describe. And it was the most amazing feeling that I have protection, and we all do. My mum was raised by nuns in a nunnery, and they loved her. So kind of made sense. And I'm like, thank you. I continued right to the very end, cleansed it, came back upstairs, opened all the doors and windows. I was sure it was gone 100% because the energy changed. The following day was Sunday. Sunday night, I was going on to a plane Monday morning. Sunday night went, and Monday morning came, and I asked the guy about this place, and is there any records of this place and anything happened here? And he confirmed that a bishop did live here, and there were some bad things apparently that happened. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going crazy. This was the truth. Thank God. And then he said the strangest thing, Mark. He said, you did the cleansing on Saturday night. On Sunday night, we normally take about 1,500, something like that, 1,500 euros. It's a quiet night. We doubled and trebled. I don't know how much he actually said, but he said, we've made more money on this night than we ever have since we've opened. He says, and that is incredible. And so we're really pleased in paying you and flying you over here, because just from that one night, we've not only got our money back, but so I thought that was really quite beautiful, knowing that the entity, without you knowing to go there or not to go there, once it's cleansed, that you're going, you decide to go. How would you even know that that entity's gone? So then you realize that there is something working beyond our world, and we do have intuition we can go to that place because it's a good place and it's clean. So I thought that was fascinating. Working on clients that came through the door, my favorite one was where I write in the book that she was Spanish, and there was obviously something attached to her, and it was a very, very dark entity, and there was a lot of movement on her, and I would not allow the entity to be stronger than me. So something happened where it always happens this way, really. When I'm with somebody and they're going through something bad, it's like somebody's got to be strong. And that's how it feels. I've got to be strong. But it's not being strong for the woman who's going through the pain. It's being strong to show that the entity is not affecting me. And I don't show weakness. And I went home back then. I said, I can't explain this, but it was like I knew what I was doing, and I knew that it was going to go. And I was like smiling in the face of this with a big smile. And I kept saying that no darkness can stay where the light is. And I'm blasting this energy of love and healing. And yes, it took 2 hours. It took maybe 2.5 hours. But then she just settled down into peace, and she was fine. So, you know, you can dally about and talk to it and say what you want, but a healing session worked on what I thought was one of the most awful attachments that I've ever seen, and the movement of a body, the movement of a neck, there was something inside moving, and but it didn't faze me. So I know that anybody can get rid of it with love and healing. That's my belief. And it was interesting. For me, the one that always stands out was back then I was married to Susie, and Susie's mum was here down in Fuengirola with her friend. And at that particular time, I didn't know, I didn't think about it. I started having bad feelings, right? Bad feelings, really weird feelings. Like, what is this? And I'm wanting to swear. And I'm angry. I don't get angry. Like, what am I angry for? I wasn't angry. I was doing healing sessions. It was beautiful. Why am I angry? I've got home and I'm angry. And like Susie said, what's up with me? And I don't know. Like, oh, sorry. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me, I said. So it was like, I was saying, I don't know, angry. And then I'm like, oh, sorry, I don't know what's wrong with me. So this started. Then all of a sudden I started feeling really bad pains in my side, in my back, really bad pains, like awful. And then I started swearing. I didn't swear. I very rarely swear, or I do now after what we've been through, but I didn't swear at all. Now I'm swearing. And she came back down, what's wrong with you? And I said, I don't know. Something doesn't feel right. I don't feel right. I feel like I couldn't explain it because, you know, it never happened to me before. But something felt foreign. Something felt like it's not me. So as I'm speaking, my consciousness is waking up, trying to tell me something. So I started listening to my consciousness, and my consciousness said, who are you? What do you want? It wasn't my brain. It wasn't my brain. It was my consciousness. And the entity inside me says, I want you to go and tell so-and-so this, that. I said, tell who? What? And like, I'm having this conversation with this, and I'm getting angry. I'm getting angry because somebody's inside me. So all of a sudden, after about 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, this was like 3 hours later, Lily, dodgy. Come here, Lily, nah, come here, come for cuddles. Come on, dodgy, come on, Lily, come for cuddles. Okay then. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how long it lasted. It was ages. Anyway, I for some reason, Susie came down and said, what's going on? And I said, I need to ask you a question. I said, who's with your mum? And she said, so-and-so. I said, she's not the woman that her son killed himself, died of alcoholic poisoning, who was a bully. She said, yeah. I said, oh shit, he's inside me. Can you imagine Susie's face? Now I know who it is. I'm having a conversation with him, and he keeps telling me to go down and tell her all these things, these awful things. I'm not telling her anything, pal. I'm not telling her nothing. Get yourself out of me. I'm not telling her no. I was struggling to get it out of me. I didn't know how to. I didn't know what to do for myself, right? Because when you're in this feeling and this pain, it's difficult. So I rung I rung Shirley. I said, I'm not in a good place. Something's inside me. And she said, don't talk, which I normally say, don't talk when somebody rings me and says that. Come and let's just clear it out. Simple as that. So I gets there. While I'm at Shirley's, there's a school teacher, John, and there's a beautiful lady who's also learning. They're learning how to do the psychic and the spiritual work. So they were good to practice on me. So they started working on me. They saged me, and then they started doing healing work. And after like an hour of me swearing, it wasn't me. And they knew it wasn't me, because this is not like Mark, and I'm swearing at them, saying all sorts of stuff. It's kind of an exorcism, really, but not Hollywood. So it went, and I went outside, very similar to this. Sliding door, sat outside, looking at the sea in Belmadina. And she comes out, and I said, I'm not doing this no more. And she says, not doing what? I said, I'm finished. I didn't sign up for this. That was just the worst thing I've ever felt. And she says, I know. And I meant it. I was going away and I'm not doing it no more. That's it, finished. And she came out and she said, you know what, Mark? What could be more beautiful than experiencing something like this, knowing now what it feels like, and the experience of it leaving, and knowing that that we can clear it and it can go, and it's not that challenging, and that you now have not only the experience of what it feels like, but you've been in the company of us of how to clear it and how easy it is, and it's not difficult. And now you can do the work knowing 100% that you've been through it as well. So you can feel your client. You can feel like I don't know what's happening. You know what's happening now, Mark. You know exactly what it's about and what happens. You know it. You could write a book about this now. And I said, yeah, I could write a book about it. You're right. I could actually write a book about that attachment and that possession. And she was right. She was absolutely right. She was always right. She was always amazing. She is my second teacher, but first teacher in heart and soul. Amazing. So it was easy from then on. And funnily enough, as soon as that happened, the phone rang about a week later, and I was at it again. Somebody's got an attachment. Somebody's coming from Morocco. Somebody's coming from Morocco. Somebody's coming from Italy. Somebody's coming from, and it was easy. Cleaned them, did it, and I wasn't with no fear, because now I kind of understand attachment. I understand things. And if I don't understand it and I don't want to understand it, I know how to clear it. So what I share with you is not a gift. It's not that you have to spend weeks and weeks and months learning and paying money to learn this. It's truthfully to do with your intention and your gift as a healer and a channeler, and trusting in spirit that if anybody ever comes your way and is ever in a bad place, and even you don't even need to talk about the attachment, you just need to heal them. That's all you need to do. That's why don't say anything. Shirley, I think there's something wrong with it. Shh, don't say anything. Just come, let's clear it. And sometimes that's the most powerful thing. You don't need to know. So if anybody ever came to you or you thought that they're in a bad place, give them a healing session. Give them your love. Lie them down, place your hands on them, and close your eyes, clear your mind, and ask for the love of healing to come through, which is a universal love. Anybody can attune to it. Your intention is to heal that person and see them filled with light and love, and the power of your energy and your love and your trust in yourself, knowing, great thing to melt away any fear is that, well, they came to you, they're with you, so there's a reason why the spirit world brought them to you. So if somebody does come and they need help, don't ever turn them away, because spirit has spent a lot of time and effort, could be years, to make this moment happen, to be in the place where you are there to help. Something to think about. That, my dear friends, is a chat tonight about the breaking down and the dismantling of all the Hollywood bullshit. It isn't that bad. It isn't that dark. But when it is spoken that way, it's probably because they're trying to sell a series, or they're trying to sell you something. Love you all from the bottom of my heart. I'm wishing you all a lovely evening, and I'm going to go home now. I'm sorry it's no questions and answers. Maybe if you'd like a follow-up to tonight, maybe think about this, and then tomorrow night I'll come on and we'll do an hour of this part 2 of any questions that you may have, because 1 hour is enough for me. I'm getting an old man and Lily needs a walk. Wishing you a lovely, lovely night. Take care, everybody. Love conquers everything and love clears everything. Never forget that. Good night.